Obviously, Lexie's been tremendous, especially on the defensive end. Like, she just brings a spark and a tenacity about her that, maybe we weren't always getting on the defensive end, and she's just willing to do whatever it takes for this team.
Off like every good WNBA rumor, hushed hallway whispers, late-night scout chatter, and one name echoing across front offices, Lexie Hull. Nope, she wasn't injured. Nope, she hadn't thrown a tantrum. She was just suddenly available. At least that's what the league thought. Word was the Indiana Fever wanted more shooting from the perimeter. Hull, solid on defense but colder than February from deep, was quietly on the market. So when a Western Conference team, insiders swear it was either Phoenix or Dallas, rang the phone, the Fever didn't hang up. It was supposed to be a harmless little depth-for-depth swap, routine stuff, but then radio silence. Phone's dead. No callbacks, no leaks, nothing. Overnight, the deal flatlined. To casual fans, it was a shrug moment. But inside Indiana, alarms went off. Who buried the trade? All clues pointed to one powerful camp, Caitlin Clark's. Because by midseason, Indiana was barely treading water, testing lineups and building everything around their golden rookie. Coach Stephanie White was cutting Hull's minutes, trying new guards, and the rumor mill went wild. One scout even whispered, "Hull's the kind of player every contender wants. Reliable, zero drama." But then, poof, the trade died. Why? Because something, or someone, hit pause. Sources say it came from above the team level. Translation, Clark's management didn't approve. And honestly, when your brand machine includes Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, and an army of PR strategists fine-tuning every caption, you don't just lose a teammate. You risk a narrative. Hull wasn't just a player. She was part of the image. Clean, humble, relatable. The perfect sidekick in Indiana's golden duo. And Clark's camp wasn't about to let that story disappear for a bench shooter. Interview 3.
Well, okay, first rating, I think, there's always room to improve, but I was impressed, so I'd give it a 9. But we were just hanging out, and she was like, I did this the other day, like, randomly, and then she, turn on the game. I was like, okay. Turned on the game, and she just started going at it, so it was funny.
For Caitlin Clark's marketing empire, that kind of effortless best friend chemistry with Lexie Hull was pure gold, the kind brands dream of and PR teams guard with their lives. You don't just ship that off for a bench shooter. So, as whispers go, Clark's management made a few polite but pointed calls, and boom, trade talk frozen like a bad Zoom connection. It wasn't just loyalty, it was quiet power flexed with surgical precision. That's when the tension started simmering in Indiana's front office. Owner Steve Simon, ever the businessman, had greenlit roster tweaks because Clark's stardom was basically printing him money. But head coach Stephanie White, she wasn't loving it. She wanted the freedom to coach, not navigate brand politics. To her, it was a simple basketball move, not betrayal. But reality hit fast. When your rookie's influence spikes revenue by 50%, basketball logic suddenly becomes optional.
Can I get this spring fling with vanilla cream instead of coconut cream? Can I have the beach babe too, please?
E50 Steve Simon wasn't about to gamble with anything that might ruffle Caitlin Clark's feathers. The man knows what side his money's buttered on. Meanwhile, Stephanie White, the coach trying to actually coach, was fuming behind that professional smile. Her rotations were now dictated by PR whispers, not playbooks. The atmosphere? Frostier than an Indiana January. Staffers described an invisible wall growing between the locker room and the front office. The Fever had quietly transformed from team first to brand first. Inside the locker room, emotions were split right down the middle. Clark's inner circle saw it as loyalty in its purest form, a star protecting her friend. But others? Not buying it. One veteran reportedly told a local reporter off the record, "I respect Caitlin, but if some players are untouchable, we're not playing the same game anymore." Another voice chimed in, "I love Lexie, but let's not pretend there isn't a double standard." Now, no one said a word publicly. Nobody wanted to spark a media war, but the tension was thick enough to cut with a Wilson. Basketball, here's the irony. Clark probably meant it as kindness, but it landed like a power move. Intentions pure, perception messy, And that's where the cracks began. Still, even her critics had to admit she'd rewritten the WNBA playbook. No rookie had ever held this kind of influence, not even close. And then there was Lexie Hull, the quiet storm in the center of it all. She didn't post cryptic captions, didn't like shady tweets, didn't feed the rumor mill. She just showed up early, worked harder, and kept smiling. Slowly, her minutes crept back up. Her defense tightened. And suddenly, Clark was singing her praises in interviews, calling her underrated and essential. Fans caught on. Keep Lexie started trending. Broadcasters rolled out highlight reels of their on-court chemistry. Subtle PR genius or genuine friendship, either way, it worked. Lexie went from trade bait to must keep. Analysts even admitted the Fever looked sharper whenever she was on the floor. Coincidence? Fans didn't think so. By the time league officials caught wind of the alleged trade interference, eyebrows were already raised. The WNBA runs on the dream of competitive balance, every team equal, every player accountable. But what happens when one athlete's orbit bends the entire system? One league exec reportedly murmured, "It's not a bad problem to have. But it's brand new." If Clark's camp could stop a trade once, what's next? Coaching choices? Media policies? Player signings? Some insiders say this could spark a player empowerment revolution, the kind the NBA took decades to reach. But it's hitting the W fast forward. Clark's stardom is growing faster than the league's rulebook can handle. Every arena she touches sells out. Every product she endorses breaks the internet. So when she, or her team, whispers, everyone listens. That's power. That's danger. And that single frozen trade might have changed Indiana and the WNBA forever. Ever.